So you're new to Genshin, you do a 10 pull in the current banner and you get 5-star Chiori. Now what do you get with Chiori? Besides one of the characters with the best looking outfit in all of Genshin? Well, Chiori is a sword wielding Geo user whose skill works well with other characters that make Geo constructs. Now what are Geo constructs? We'll get into that in this video. So in this video, we're going to go over Chiori, her playstyle, her skill, her burst, what all of it does. So if you do learn something, do be sure to like, comment, subscribe. And with that being said, let's get into this video. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to show the build of the Chiori that we are using in this video. One, it might be a look at a later build. So this Chiori is level 50 out of 50 with almost 12,000 max HP, attack almost 2,000, defense 566. Both attack and defense is important for Chiori. Her crit split 60.7 over 190.9. That's actually a pretty good crit split with 115% ER. The weapon that is on her is a level 90 Blackcliff Longsword, and she is currently running a 2-piece Shimenawa 2-piece Noblesse. She is C0 with talent levels 2, 2, and 2. So first we're going to talk about her normal attacks, her skill, and her burst. By the way, do you like the blue hair? Okay, so her normal attacks are going to be pretty standard for a sword user. However, she does use 2 swords, which is really cool. I think she's the only character that does use 2 swords. Her charge attack is also really cool. It's kind of like a flurry. As she spins around, she swings the swords. So her skill does a couple different things, and we're going to take them piece by piece. Now, first off, her skill does have a tap and a hold, and the tap is going to be very similar. And her skill at first is going to be very similar to like Kaching, where you can aim where you throw it. You can throw it up in the air. You can throw it even with you, and you are going to dash or teleport to the enemy doing a slash. Also, she summons this little thing right here, and its name is Tomato. We'll talk about Tomato in a little bit. Now, if you do a normal attack after you use her skill and after she teleports, she will gain Geo Infusion into her normal attacks for a small amount of time. If you hit your skill instead, if you hit the skill button again or your E, then it is going to change your character to the next character in line. So in this instance, it is Geo Traveler. So if we hit her skill, we teleport, we hit it again, it will then put Geo Traveler on the field, even if you're in the air, and you can follow it up with a plunging attack. So you do want to either click the skill or normal attack following up the use of her skill, depending on the situation that you're in, depending on what you want to do. Now we're going to talk about Tomato. Now what Tomato is going to do is Tomato is going to do a coordinated Geo attack with your on-field character. I believe it's every 2 seconds that Tomato will do that coordinated attack. Now, when you use the skill, it summons 1 Tomato. You can summon a second one. That is where the Geo constructs come into play. If you have a Geo construct on the field and you summon Tomato, it will summon 2. If you summon Tomato, which it only summons 1, and then you place a Geo construct, it will summon a second Tomato. So you can get 2 Tomatos on the field. So what constitutes a Geo construct? Well, the Traveler's E, or skill, does constitute a Geo construct. Ningguang's Barrier, her skill, also is considered a Geo construct. Goro's E skill is not considered a Geo construct, so it's not going to summon a second Tomato. So you can only have 2 Tomatos on the field at a time. There is something in her constellations, but it's not considered a third Tomato. It's considered something else. So only 2 Tomatos on the field at the same time. So now we're going to talk about her burst. And what her burst is going to do is that her burst is just going to do an AoE Geo attack. That's really it. It's very pretty. It's a very cool animation, but it doesn't do anything special. Now, the thing with using her skill and then a normal attack, or her skill and then skill again to swap characters, is her first passive. Now, whenever you do the tapestry, whenever you change characters, it does allow for all of your party members to get the coordinated attack with Tomato. Her second passive is just when a nearby party member creates a Geo construct, it gives Chiori a Geo damage bonus. Those are both of her passives. So something else that I want to point out real quick is that Chiori does scale off of both attack and defense. As you can see right here, it says that the damage done is a percentage of her attack plus a percentage of her defense. While defense is higher, you do want a balance between the two stats. So with that being said, let's go look at some artifacts for her to balance that. So for a beginner artifact set, I'm going to say like a 2-piece Defender's Will, 2-piece Resolution. Defender's Will is going to get up your defense, and Resolution is going to get up your attack, which are both of the stats that her damage is going to scale off of. So these are going to be a very, very good 2-piece and 2-piece set for Chiori. Now, as far as main stats go for the artifacts, doing either an attack percent or a defense percent sans, depending on which one you need to balance it out, or depending on which one has better substats. For a goblet, you're going to want to do a geo damage goblet, and for a circlet, you're going to want to do a crit rate or crit damage, depending on what you need more of, right? This Chiori has a crit damage weapon, so she has a crit rate circlet. So now we're going to look at a beginner-friendly weapon. So now we're going to look at some beginner weapons. So Blackcliff Longsword is a 4-star weapon that you can get through the Star Glitter shop, right? It changes every month between the Blackcliff series and the Royal series. This does get up crit damage, which is going to be very, very good for Chiori. Another weapon that you can do is going to be like Wolf's Fang, which is a battle pass weapon that gets up crit rate as well as skill damage. For 3 stars, you do have Harbinger of Dawn, which gets up both crit damage and crit rate. And with Chiori being a Geo character, you're going to have plenty of chances to have some shields to protect and keep her healthy. Also, if you're just using her off field, it's not going to matter that much. But you'll have plenty of chances to keep her healthy with an on-field Chiori to keep the full passive. You also have Traveler's Handy Sword, which gets up defense. So you do have a couple different options for Chiori. So now we're going to look at a party for Chiori. And in this one, we have Chiori, Geo Traveler, Xiangling, and Barbara. So as they are fighting in the background, I'm going to explain how this party would work, right? This would be much more of an on-field Chiori, which in my opinion is easier to do as a beginner than how she's like supposed to be used off-field. So with this, we are going to be using Geo Traveler's Burst, especially with Geo Traveler being C6, to increase Chiori's crit rate, to also produce constructs to have that second tomato. Then we're going to have Xiangling's Burst and Barbara's skill creating vaporize reactions with Chiori on field doing damage with the Geo infusion. Now we could have a different character being our on-field damage dealer, but using Chiori this way works, especially early game, especially when you don't have as many characters at your disposal to be using her off field. So as you can see, as we're going through, we are just making sure that we have the constructs on the field. We have 2 tomatoes on the field. Then we're going to be using Xiangling's Burst and Barbara's skill. And we have the chance just to be creating some shields, creating some shards. This is also going to allow Chiori to be on the field doing the damage. Like I said, it's going to be an easier kind of team to make early on. Now, we can swap some characters around later on as we get more. We could take off Geo Traveler and we could put like Ningguang. We could put Albedo. We could put Zhongli. Any characters that are going to make the Geo constructs for Chiori. For the other characters, we could do like Goru to increase some damage for Ningguang and for Chiori. We could have Barbara stay to be a healer. We could put Benny in to buff the attack of Chiori and Ningguang. So you can do a lot of different teams. You can have a lot of different characters involved in this, but none of these are going to be like Chiori's best. Chiori works really, really well with other Geo characters that have the constructs, like Ito, Zhongling, any kind of character that can create the construct, especially at C0. At C1, it does make her easier to use with other parties where you necessarily can't make constructs. You don't have to have C1 to use it with like Navia, but it does help a lot. That is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, you be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody else will be sure to answer, and I'll see you in the next one.